I just want to see the slate.
You want to see the slate? Yeah, right. Okay. So we're gonna start with defensive stance abilities. So by that I mean abilities that you perform while you're holding down on the right stick on your controller, or holding down with your mouse if you want, or whatever you go there. So for Conqueror, Blackfire, Valkyrie, Warlord, Kyoshin, and Nobushi, doesn't really have she has that sort of input, but it's not really as defensive. But for the heroes that actually have that block there, those abilities no longer pause stamina regeneration when you hold them. So you regen your stamina while you're in that block stance.
That's cool. Okay.
It no longer costs stamina when you block attacks. I know Spaniard is going to be mad at me. That's how he calculates how much the hit reactions of attack.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be.
Well, he's gonna have
that's really good.
Exactly, right? We love the guy. So that we removed the stamina cost. Knew about was that whenever you used to block attacks in those stances, you got less revenge, right? And so that might be part of why sometimes you're like, oh, why didn't I get revenge there? Well, it's because you were using that full block. But we've removed that aspect, so now you get the normal amount of revenge. Should help you survive better in group fights, be able to use those abilities quite a bit more. So that should be really, really useful.
Oh, nice. So I can now feed even more.
So Conqueror, I use Valkyrie mostly.
And then for Nobushi specifically, so hidden stance no longer pauses stamina regeneration.
It doesn't pause any more stamina regeneration.
Again, go into her hidden stance.
It doesn't cost any stamina to block attacks.
She only dodges really when you start
I'll take that buff.
So she can stay in that stance, but at least she's not going to be against stamina starved while she's in there. And not having to really have a look at her stamina and go, oh, this is what I have to do. I have to be really, really careful. So you can go into it more often, hold it more.
There's going to be more defensive stances, and we don't have to worry about
a little bit more often.
Stamina.
Awesome. One more reason for me to avoid Nobushi.
Next we have Berserker. So,
I mean, this is a short note.
It's a very short note, right?
But I'm seeing some words in bold.
Yes.
So I'm feeling like this isn't a simple change.
It's not a simple change, but it's a very significant one. So Berserker can now cancel the recovery of every single attack with a dodge at 300 milliseconds. So before, Berserker could only really cancel the recovery of a bunch of attacks into a dodge, but only on miss. And so with this, it's every single attack, every single time. And we really wanted to go towards that with Berserker, because the hero is supposed to be a crazy attack machine that always attacks. That's the problem there. All right, next we have Kensei. So we've been doing a lot of changes to Kensei recently, and this is one of the final ones we're going to be doing for now, but I think it's one that was super well requested. Basically, this kind of rounds out Kensei's offense in 1v1. So the chain light attacks now cause a medium hit reaction. They used to cause a light hit reaction. And we've also adjusted the timings from chain lights to finisher lights, so you can still dodge them, right? So you can't just go light spam, and your opponent can't dodge out of them or whatever. But this might not seem like much, but this means that Kensei can do the opener into Pommel Strike, into Chained Light, and then do that top heavy finisher that's unblockable, and it will no longer be interruptible at all by your opponent. So that's kind of the final thing here, where if Kensei gets his Pommel Strike, which he does quite often, then going to that finisher is super rewarding, because then you force people to really, really deal with that mix-up. And then that finisher has
lights,
attack, do a bunch of different things.
Chain link,
super effective.
Timing,
it works quite well.
It gives the hero a lot
more pressure in 1v1 situations.
Yeah, it sounds like it should break him away from being so reliant on that top-heavy mix-up.
Yeah, right, because before the problem was that because you could do it right, you had to always... I'm going to do the side heavies because they have armor. You had to commit to more things, whereas in 1v1 scenarios, it's not really optimal. It doesn't feel as good. So with this, at least, you can be sure you won't be interrupted by your opponent by a quick light, for example.
Shaman.
Yeah. Exactly. So Shaman. So for Shaman, the left and right stance, Raven's Claw and Raven's Bile. So that's a soft feint from heavy openers and chains after heavy finishers. So the sides used to be 466 and the top was 400. Now all three sides are 400.
Nice.
That gives Shaman more unreactable offense. We know from Peacekeeper, from Raider, from Aramusha,
faster.
From Kensei, that those soft feints into really, really quick attacks work really well. In her case, it's a bleed that enables her to pounce and bite people and do all sorts of cool things. Gives synergy with Nobushi, gives synergy with Peacekeeper as well. So it's really interesting. We really want her to be able to like apply that bleed more often, more consistently, and making it 400 should be unreactable even for our more crazy reaction players that we have. So that's really, really strong here. Gives her a lot
they
more
buffed
pressure in those situations.
the feint move.
Nice, yeah. It
The
sounds
heavy
like she's
feint
going to have a
for the
lot better
bleed
blood pressure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Her blood pressure is going to go through the roof now. That's pretty good.
Chat's going to
faster
be
now.
for that.
Oh yeah.
Come
All right, so
Blackbriar.
Blackbriar. So we've also adjusted Blackbriar's light finishers to now cause a medium hit reaction. It used to be a light reaction. We've also adjusted the light finisher recoveries, so you have the same frame advantage as you had before. So it means the recoveries are a little bit longer, but it also means that if a Blackbriar does light to you and then he spams light, your light will beat their light. Right, so that's the idea here. We really wanted to keep that aspect really, really strongly. That's a very important aspect of what we did with the Core Combat update a few years ago, and it's very, very important for us to have that. Because that's now a medium hit reaction, Blackbriar can now do light finisher to bulwark, into bulwark stance, into bulwark slash, without getting interrupted. Similarly to what we have with Kensei, right? The idea is we want Blackbriar to be able to flow more into more offense.
and like access that bulwark stance.
Exactly, right? And access that bulwark stance and be able to use the bulwark slashes a lot more effectively. Because part of the problem that Blackbriar has is that he feels ocean. We have Hakaze and Mujuno Kaze, which now cost 6 stamina.
Like, what is that? I don't have those memorized.
So basically, those are the Kaze stance, light, and zone.
Oh,
okay.
So they now cost 6 stamina instead of 12.
The light in the zone? Okay.
Works better. Gives Kyoshin much better stamina economy.
So much less.
That's very good.
Like
Okay.
starved all the time.
Right? So that's what it goes in line with what I was saying earlier, where we want those heroes to have more stamina, less like constantly out of breath. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, because Kyoshin feels like, okay, I did my thing. Now I gotta like wait a second.
Exactly.
Okay, now I did my thing.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Right? So with this, it doesn't like completely like you still have to watch your stamina, but it helps. Like every little bit helps. So every little bit helps there as well. Warmonger. So for Warmonger, Beast of Prey, which is her side dodge heavies, they now have extended dodge properties. So what does that mean? It means that she has invulnerability frames for longer. It means she has tracking break, which is what we kind of call whenever you dodge an attack, right? So the way it works is I throw an attack at you and you dodge. It kind of breaks the tracking I have towards you so that I'm going to miss. So that's the idea here. So that tracking break is longer, lets her dodge attacks more effectively. Beast of Prey is really good in group fights. Well, it was kind of okay in group fights. With this, it should be much better in group fights. Lets Warmonger reposition, throw big, heavy unblockables at people, target swap them, do all sort of stuff, and be a lot safer while she does them.
Looking forward to that one in particular. Warmonger is one of my mains. So
yeah. Then we have Griffon. So for Griffon, Helm Cleaver is now enhanced. That's dodge forward light. So for some of these heroes, and some people have probably noticed, and you've probably noticed as well. In the past few seasons, we've been doing some incremental changes to some heroes, right? And sometimes it's like, oh, it's a little thing. Oh, it's a little thing. It's a little thing. In the case of Griffon here, it's not the biggest buff we've ever done, but at the same time, it's one step forward, right? And so we want to make sure that sometimes we do like these step by step, so we can do like a little bit and then evaluate. Oh, okay, well in the future, this worked well. So what else can we do to improve the character? What else can we do to improve the character? And go like a little bit slower in there. We're doing a lot more frequent updates with this, so it works really, really well. And that should also help Griffon get into better offense regardless. So it's still a good tool, and it being enhanced makes it that at least you're not going to get interrupted and then guard broken externally by somebody else. So that works.
yeah, because I know in the past sometimes we'll roll out a slate of changes and we're like, oh, 80% of those were good, but like these couple, now that's the focus.
Exactly. Right.
And so this allows us to just
we go
ratchet
step by step,
it up.
and it works really well. Next, we have well, it looks like a bug fix, but it's also an improvement on the Bushi. So she can now do Viper's Retreat and Hidden Stance at 100 ms in the stance change. That used to be at 300 ms. So basically, when you change your stance, it takes overall 300 milliseconds. But you can normally attack after 100. And so Nobushi could not do Viper's Retreat or Hidden Stance until the end of that 300. And so to have a lot more consistency with when she can attack, when she can go into a Hidden Stance, we really put it at 100 ms, like what she would have when she attacks. Really helps her, again, have more fluidity a little bit here. And
It's
also
just going to feel better.
yeah, she feels
Yeah.
better, right? Because the thing is, sometimes even for hidden stance, like, I do it all the time. Like because I don't go and adjust my dead zones like crazy, like some players do, which is I don't know, a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you want to hit down, and then you were like a little bit too diagonal for some reason because you're not super accurate, like I am. I'm getting old, so. And then I hit the diagonal, and then oops, I changed my stance, and then I have to wait 300 ms before I can go into a hidden.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side.